My name is Keri Pitzer. I was born and raised in the Deep South. I'm from Auburn, Alabama. I came from a large family. My dad was a farmer and in construction. And so I've been married for 20 years, active duty military. He's been retiring this summer as Lieutenant Colonel. So we found Okaloosa as our forever home 8 years ago, and we don't plan to leave. We're excited. We raised two children here that will both be graduating the next 2 years. So I own an event design company. It's a little bit of an interesting gig around here with tourism and corporate groups, but that's what I do on the day to day.
So, what do you see the position of Okaloosa County Commissioner as being responsible for? What would you see your job as being if you were elected to this position?
It's a great question. And honestly, it was the first question I had when I was considering running. Explain to me what a county commissioner is, because I think I'm a little confused. So the state of Florida describes in a big picture what a county commissioner should be. The county of Okaloosa does not have a definition. So one thing I definitely want to do if elected is define that for our constituents. What are we supposed to be doing and what are we not supposed to be doing? So I think that a county commissioner really has to, number one, has to represent the people that they are in the district for. So as you know, we have 5 districts. I'm in District 3. And I think that's important that all of our board really represents each pocket of our diverse county. We have a lot of different needs, but we have to understand all of them. So therefore, I think that you have to represent your district well. And you have to communicate with not only those constituents and their concerns, but you have to make yourself available to everyone, which is a full-time job of communicating. And then secondly, we have to use the funds that we have appropriately. I am a little discouraged with the way that we've been planning appropriately, not only funds, but also some infrastructure issues that we have across the county. This isn't a new problem. We've been dealing with this for 10, 20 years. And so I want to see a little shift in the pre-planning and the ability to be efficient in getting things accomplished.
What about you makes you the best candidate for this job?
Great question. What makes me the best candidate for this job is easy. I am not only representing one pocket of our county. So I'm an active duty spouse of 20 years. I understand the military families coming and going and the concerns that they have. We've got a housing issue there. I understand tourism. I grew up coming to Destin for tourism reasons, and I now service those people on the day-to-day of the South County. And then I chose to lose my forever home, use it, in a farm in Baker. And so I can understand why we want to stay rural and respect our farmlands in the North County.
So, how should I say this? What to you is more important? Because I feel like everybody wants low taxes.
Sure.
Everybody wants great services. Which is more important?
Well, so I thought about this question because I think that it's important to kind of hit the nail on the head. We actually have the ability to maybe do both, but it's going to take a little bit of effort, right? So we've imposed some different sales tax and different things that expire in 10 years. So are we using those to the best of our ability where we don't have to continue to re-up them? Or are we maybe missing the mark a little on our projections on what we need to be doing and open with our constituents of where those funds are being spent? Or did we project that we need enough, right? So I do think that taking care of the people of Okaloosa County, not necessarily the tourism or the people who come and go, we need to look at the people who live here, like you and I, day to day. Are those people being taken care of? Are they able to afford to live here? Do they have good jobs that aren't fluctuating? And those are things that we have to really attack before we can say, do we want more taxes or do we want better infrastructure? Ideally, we'll want everything. But in order to accomplish one, it's going to take the other. And so therefore, we have to look at what have we done and what can we do differently?
So it's a balancing act?
It's a balancing act. But I think that you can't balance the act if you don't understand what's going on. And I think there's no one running for this position that's going to be able to answer that question with a full education until they're in the seat and have time to really educate themselves on the ground of what's really being going on. And then communicating that. And then hearing from the people, what do you want? It's a common question in the North County. Are you willing to pay more to keep your rural way of life? And I think that that's something that some people are willing to do. And some people are saying, I can't even afford my current way of life. Right? So I think we have to look at each area and see how we can best judge.
So the half-penny sales tax is something you brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in favor of renewing that when it comes up possibly for a vote again in 2028?
Right. So we have two of those, right? One got imposed in 2019 for infrastructure and stormwater specifically. So we know that's an issue. Number two, we have the one that came in 2021 for the schools. So one thing that I really want to do, and I've actually been researching the last 48 hours a lot about, is where are we at in those processes before they do sunset at that 10-year mark? We are halfway done with the infrastructure sales tax. And it's, half penny sales tax drives me a little nuts. It's actually 0.5% of a sales tax. So I think there's some education being mishapped there a little bit. So I don't have the answer to that question. That's a question I'm currently actively trying to seek the answer to. Have we made our midway mark this year or have we not? And if we haven't, can we reroute that while we still have those funds coming in?
Would you name for me the most important task that you're going to have accomplished at the end of your first term here in 2028?
Yes, I would say the most important thing that I'm going to do is grow the trust of the people of Okaloosa County to trust their local government. So that is opening lines of communication. That is efficiently solving problems. And that is sometimes just boiling down to making sure the departments understand that we have boots on the ground, paying attention and listening to those people actually accomplishing the goals, not just getting a spreadsheet and voting yes or no, but really understanding what's happening.
So can you give me a specific example of what you would want to see done or changed?
Sure. PJ Adams is a great example for me, right? So years ago, we had the option to buy 4-lane and we're never going to need to grow in the North County. So we'll just purchase 2. And now we have spent years, me personally, I travel that road often, having those frustrations, watching people's homes be shortened, walls being built, a lot of frustration in traffic and time. We've got military families come in and saying, why does it take me an hour and a half to get home? I mean, it's frustrating. I've got employees stuck on that road all the time. And so it's affecting our business. It's affecting our personal life. And so making sure that we use the infrastructure that we have planned to accomplish goals. And I think that when you use the new exchange right there, I think it needs to be able to push people down to Holt. We need to grow industry in Holt. We need to push people to Shoal River. We need to learn to diversify our traffic issue and jobs.
So speaking of Shoal River and Holt, there's a lot of space that some people have earmarked, especially on the Shoal River side, for heavy industry. And I think that one of the biggest problems that I've seen as a guy that doesn't work on base or doesn't work in the tourism industry is that there's not a whole lot of different, diverse things for people to do here. So you get a lot of people that maybe grow up here and then they leave because they don't have a insert whatever this person is good at. How are you going to use this position to diversify the economy to make Okaloosa County a place where anybody can come and work?
It's a great question. And I think it starts with partnering with different industries that can come in that aren't reliant on those military, drones being built, weaponry being built. And those are important jobs, but we have to make sure that we have jobs not just in the South County, but in the North County. So the Holt Industrial Park, I've been meeting with the different businesses there, asking them, are you ready to grow? We have no infrastructure there. We don't have sewage there, right? There is a company that has agreed to give land for the partners with the county to be able to put in some sort of sewage plant there. We missed out on the Amazon hub. It went over to Milton. We missed out on the Sefco kitchen. We could be bringing in some good industry jobs for the people of the North County right there on something we've already paid for with that exchange. And we're just missing that mark. It's not becoming a priority. And so it needs to be a priority to bring in and make effort to make these relationships with these larger industries and come in. I know we've got a couple already on the books for Shoal River, and I think that's important. Not only is it economically important, but it's important for our people to know that we care about those who aren't coming and going.
What kind of actions would you take as a county commissioner to make those connections?
Probably something I should research before I answer fully, right? But I think that it starts with going to the people that are there. And I met with a group last week, actually, and they are wanting to triple their business. And they're having to look at exiting the county because there's nowhere for them to go. And so I said, please don't, please hold, and let's figure out, I know the person who owns this property. Let's put you in touch with them. Let's see how quickly we can get this ball moving. And so sometimes it's just taking the time to reach out and listen to who's there, and they may have other companies they want to bring in as well. So I think relationships, it's really where it's going to boil down to in some of this. And relationships really make a difference.
Affordable housing has become an acute problem in Niceville.
All over.
Yeah. Especially, everywhere in Okaloosa County, but we're really seeing the effects of that. Our average median sale price here for last month was $550,000.
Yeah.
It's kind of becoming unaffordable. What would you be able to do, or should the county commission do anything to make more affordable housing stock available to people that live here?
So I've been researching that affordable housing issue in general, right? So there's a lot of grant money that can come in if you throw in that affordable housing and do these mixed use subdivisions. So last week I met with two different developers that have developments going up all over the county. And I said, I need you to explain to me, what is affordable housing? What from you, what you're building, what is considered affordable? And they said the affordable housing that they can build at the lowest end is going to be $450,000. And that's even in Crestview. So you tell me how our RNs, how our sheriff's departments, how our teachers, how are our workers supposed to be able to afford a $450,000 house? So I think we need to do a few things. Number one, we can go up, right? The Crestview city can go up. We can go up 7 stories high. Why are we not looking at bringing in some loft apartments that are nice? Things that people can afford. Not everybody wants a yard to maintain. Not everybody has children. There's a low young population in this county, and there's nowhere really for them to go. They're not tourists, but they may want to just hang out. And so I think we need to expand some of our cities in the upward direction, not necessarily in the out direction. I think that's something that needs to be looked at. I also think that beautification of some of the older buildings needs to be revitalized. I feel like we just keep building new, and are we taking care of what we have? And are we somehow revamping? I know Fort Walton did a great job revamping downtown. They're still working through that. So I just think we should maybe just take a step back and say, what is affordable? Can the people who live here afford to live here? And I think the study that just came out that the county paid for says absolutely they can't. This is crazy. We got to figure out where we're putting these folks. And I don't know that new housing, new developments is necessarily the only answer to that.
So you would be in favor of increased residential density for zoning?
No, I am not for high density all across the county. Let me be really clear, right? So the north end of the county, west of Yellow River, does not have infrastructure for that. There's no sewage over there. We can't support what people are wanting and just think we can naturally put that way. Near the Shoal River Industrial Park, it's already in the works as we're seeing happen. And I think that we need to grow where we're zoned to grow. I am definitely for being a smart proponent of planning, but that doesn't mean just free for all growth. Absolutely.
So you would maybe in more urbanized parts of the county see higher density as the option that you would want to move forward with?
Potentially. I'm not an expert. I think I need to research and give you a better answer. But I definitely think there's some different ways to approach this than what we're doing currently. And I think just hitting a button for more housing isn't an answer. Eglin has orphan properties, hundreds of acres off base. They are trying to trade developers a lease for them to develop their own housing. As we know, the base has been collapsing housing. They want more production on base. They want less people on base. So we've got to house these people that are coming in and need to be right there by work. And so I plan to work with them and figure out how can we utilize this. I've been meeting with developers in that area and saying, hey, would this be something you'd be interested in doing? We have to take care of the military. They take care of this county, and that's something we have to respect. But outside of that area, it can impact the whole. We've got to really think about the people of Okaloosa County.
Your District 3, Commissioner Nathan Boyles has referred to it multiple times as the gerrymandered district, because it, of course, includes Valparaiso, Niceville, a little sliver of Fort Walton Beach.
A little bit of Crestview. And the northwest part of the largest landmass of the districts. Yeah.
And so you have a lot of variety that you're having to deal with. And one of the things that I've seen in the past is that the area of Niceville, which is probably it's the largest population center without a county commissioner, typically doesn't get as much in terms of half-cent sales tax revenues or other infrastructure projects as other areas. Is there anything specifically in Niceville that you would like to see change in terms of new construction or new amenities being brought to this area?
So I grew up and our high school played Niceville High School, and it kind of looks the same, right? So you go through and it's a lot of times it's referred to as almost off-base housing, right? Officer housing is what everyone's kind of referred to Niceville as. And so I think that it would be something for us to maybe pull together a town hall, listen to the people and say, what is that you have and what is it that you want? And then what is working well for you and not? Because you're in the heartbeat of Okaloosa County right there. You've got the airport coming and going. You've got tourism coming and going. You've got military coming and going. And so for me, not being a resident of Niceville, I don't want to speak for those people, but I definitely would want to meet with them and hear them face to face on what issues they feel like would be a good thing to attack.
The last 2 months, we've seen a lot of discussion about growth in the North End, ag versus residential. What are your thoughts on how, A, the situation has been handled from the county's perspective, and B, what needs to be done in order to make sure that housing is available, like you said a little bit earlier with the density thing, but also protect individual property rights so that people can do what they want with their land?
Absolutely. So this is a hot topic, and I think the whole county is paying attention to what's happened. So north of Eglin right now, there's a study going on of all 38,000 unincorporated families, people that live there, right? And so they're looking at everywhere. What's our options for growth? What's our options for rezoning? And that is, and does fall on the county commissioner's shoulders to look at rezoning every so often, correct? So they've hired Inspire Collective to come in. Their first thing out the gate was to meet with the people and hear what the people want to say. 500 plus people showed up and they said, hey, we like our way of life, especially in this little my neck of the woods over here, right? They wanted to stay rural agricultural. They want to stay rural residential, 1 house per 5 acres. And a lot of that has to do with infrastructure issues. A lot of it has to do with the schools. And those are hot topics for them, right? Their way of life, they feel like is compromised in some degree. And so they're not saying we don't want people here. They're just saying we want the appropriate growth that we can handle. And so if you're coming to Destin for vacation, you're coming through Baker. Highway 4 is the highest trafficked into this county. I mean, you're just pouring down thanks to Google Maps these days. We know how to get places a lot faster, and that's Crestview and PJ Adams. So we want to be a good representation when you welcome yourself to Florida. Baker needs to be a good representation and be a beautification project so that we're welcoming to Florida in the correct manner. And then the people there just want to keep the rural lifestyles. We have functional farmland. We bring in $6 million in the North County, which doesn't seem like a big thing in the scheme of a 260-page budget we were just discussing. But it is an actual functional farmland, and Florida's losing 25% every year. And we are relying more and more on foreign countries to bring in our food. And so I do intend to help save the rural agricultural functional farms. We have strawberry farms, peanut farms, cotton farms. That is something that this county has that we need to preserve, just like we preserve our Gulf. And so that is something that the North County is screaming pretty loud right now. I don't think you'll find someone that lives in that area that doesn't agree with that. But as far as housing comes in, we do have some R1 areas that are able to be developed. So we don't need to be going for ag land. We need to be using the land that we have zoned appropriately. And I don't think that anyone's fighting the current zoning. They're fighting the change of the zoning.
All right, perfect. I've asked you a bunch of questions. I'd love to hear what you think I should have asked. What is on your mind right now that you want people to know?
Absolutely. Well, as you know, I jumped into the race about a month ago, right? April 1st. So I'm kind of out of left field. So I'd like people to know a little bit about me and what my plan is. So my heart and my passion is Okaloosa County becoming the best county possible. And I think that starts with really learning how and we function and educating people on how they can be involved. So I have a plan that in the first 100 days, I'm going to spend a day with everyone that is on a line item in that budget. It's 260 plus pages. I've been working through it. So I want to spend time with the road crew. And I don't mean I want to meet with the heads of the road crew. I mean, I want to see how the asphalt's getting put down. I want to go to the planning department. I want to meet with the lake camper and say, hey, explain to me exactly how you go start to finish on a petition, right? I want to understand the processes because I don't think you can put anyone in that seat that has already been in this game and understands it well. I think we've got to start from the bottom and educate ourselves to the top and communicate it all along the way. So that's what I plan to do. I plan to jump in, be an open book. I love meeting with people. I love making this county the best that we can any way possible.
If you do win, what is the crew or group in the county that you're most looking forward to doing a day with?
Oh, that's such a great question. Oh gosh, I have a lot of them. I wasn't prepared for this, so let me think for a minute, because I was just discussing this last night.
I got to ask the hard questions.
You're asking great questions. I love this. Let's see. Who would I want to meet with the most? I think probably growth and development, because they see all the pockets pretty closely. And when somebody wants to complain, I feel like they're the first call that they make. And so I maybe start with growth and development and work my way down. Kind of from there, like how does that trickle into the roads? How does that trickle into different things? I want to meet with the sheriff's department. I'm a big proponent for law enforcement. I'm so thankful in the North County. We have 3 sheriffs who get from Baker and North. So sometimes it takes 15, 20 minutes to get help if someone's nearby. And that's a problem for me. When we have people wanting to grow that direction, we've got to make sure that we are giving the right tools for our first responders and supporting them. And so I'm not just focused on the North County. I've been talking to the Sheriff's Department of South County, the issues they're dealing with, and beach patrols and different things like that. We just really need to support the people who are making us safe and functional on a daily basis.
Perfect. Anything else that I forgot to ask you?
I don't know. You're the question asker.
Well, I always say that because inevitably my best soundbite comes from asking that question.
Okay, so well then I'm failing.
That's not necessarily true. I might have gotten everything for once.
You asked me about the budget.
Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the budget.
Okay.
what now, $650 million.
So something I find interesting about the Okaloosa County budget is that we had 11% increase in revenue this last year. So we're bringing money in. I want to find out where that money's going, because things that I'm not going to be supporting, I can tell you if I'm in office, is a northbound welcome center at the worst traffic intersection in North County. We're talking about traffic issues and housing issues, and we just spent $1 million on a building that's had 2 failed businesses. So I want to make sure that our money is going to the right places and making sure that we are spending it where the constituents and the tourists, if that's who we're targeting, are actually getting to utilize those things.
So the building in that we're discussing is the old Beach Bank building, right, on PJ?
Correct.
So we've purchased that. So what would you want to see us do with it? Sell it and move the Welcome Center somewhere else, or get rid of a Welcome Center?
I'm not really sure. I'm trying to figure out what the Adventure Center means. I think a lot of locals are trying to figure out what adventure's happening. It looks like some pamphlets and a couch. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a, we want to see what we're doing. We need things for our youth to do. We are really lacking. Specifically in the Crestview and North area. We now have an indoor soccer field that just opened up recently, but we need things for our youth to participate in. They can't necessarily after school run down to the beach like some of us in the South County, or hop on the bay and go fishing. They've got to go to the rivers and the lakes, or not lakes, but the rivers, and they've got to really, we need something for them to do. So if this adventure center is going to be something where the locals can participate, but right now it's being pushed a little bit for tourism, and that's just not the intersection or the right lane of traffic to be spending our money.
So, tourism brings in a ton of money, and we've recently voted to expand the tourism taxing district all the way up to the Alabama border. Yep. How aggressive do you want to be with, because there are restrictions on that money, how aggressive do you want to be in using that money for infrastructure projects and other things that may not be, right on its face, like, oh, that's for tourism?
Right. I think that's a great question. That's part of the budget I have been diving into as well. So I have an Airbnb in the North County, and I get to pay my tourism tax on that.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So I got to learn a little bit about how all of that worked, and they had some finagling at first, some different ways to do it. But I did wonder when I first started paying this, like, where and what is this going towards, and how is this helping me as someone who is allowing tourism to come in, right? We have a lot of gun ranges in the North. People come in for tactical training, tactical games. We have people come for drag racing, high-end drag racers. You wouldn't even know about vintage cars. It's pretty cool. Different people who go to birdwatch in Blackwater Forest. So there is still tourism happening in the North County. Obviously not like the beautiful beaches that we have down here in the South. But I'm wondering, where are we spending those monies? And I think it should really be focused, on my opinion, we should be focused on keeping up with our counties on either side of us in the beautification and cleaning up and restoring some areas, sidewalks, bringing in some different amphitheaters. Like Maddie Kelly's got a great amphitheater. How can we give people something to do that aren't just here for a short time?
So, stadiums or high school, what are those called? The travel ball stadiums? What I'm talking about, where it's like 4 diamonds on each side or something? You're talking about the sports complexes. Yes,
Foley has a great sports complex, and people, like my daughter played volleyball. We would go over there for volleyball. People go over there for soccer, lacrosse. I think a sports complex would be great if we could come up with a location for that, maybe fairgrounds. I don't know what's happening there right now, but I have a lot to learn. I'm by no means saying I have all the answers, but I definitely am willing to work to find them and find creative solutions to some of the problems that just keep popping up over and over. I feel like if we're running into the stormwater issue, Sylvania Heights should not be having sewage come up in their yard, as we've been talking about this and gathering money for 10 years, So I just want to get some of these things. I want to understand why we're not fully accomplishing some goals.
Perfect. I guess the last thing I would ask is, what is the idea that you're most excited about?
The idea
for county commissioner, where if you get in the seat the first day, the thing that you're like, this is going to be really cool if we do this.
First day, I'll be a little overwhelmed. Okay, let's see. What would I be excited about in the first day? Well, I'm excited to understand how the staff gets picked. That's something no one's been able to answer for me. I don't know who's appointed and who I get to bring to the table. So I want time to research that as quickly as possible. I think I would like to meet with the previous staff and say, hey, what are the things you are currently working on? I think a lot of times whenever you have a new person coming in and a new person exiting politically, in the business world, I deal with this, making sure there's an easy exchange of information and that chain of information and that communication line is still available. I definitely respect the people that have come before me. I think there's a wealth of knowledge to learn from. And I'm anxious to tap into those minds and hear what they have to say. And the elections office is a little tired of all my calls and questions. They're pretty patient. But it's taught me a lot, and I've been able to share a lot of information. I think that's important. So I would say in my first day is probably coming up with a master plan of here's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Is this what I'm allowed to do? Right? And getting some advice on how we really move forward with a lot of the goals that we have, because as you and I both know, the county is part of the government, and that can take time. So there's not a magic button. I'm going to come in, sit down at the desk, hit the button, and it's just going to be a beautiful world. We've got to work towards those goals. In order to work towards those goals, you need to surround yourself with the right people. So my prayer is that the right people get into office, and that those people can make real impact and real change for the constituents of Okaloosa County.